25,297 visits in 1 year. Hey guys, my name is Stefan from Practice Peak, and in today's video I want to show you 5 ways that in my own clinic we generated this amount of visits in 1 year alone. The 5 strategies are proven because we don't only replicate them in my clinic, we replicate them in 5 clinics that we have as a company and across the UK, where I now teach other clinics how they can do that too. Did you get here over a year or two? No, it took a long time. Is it something that you can do too? Absolutely. And what we find in the most, I would say, top 1% clinics in the UK is that people don't necessarily work harder, they just work smarter. So I hope you stay until the end, because the 4th and 5th strategies is something that most clinics do not do, and I'm going to teach you how you can do that in your practice. And it doesn't matter if you're a single doc practice, if you have multiple associates, or if you have multiple practices. These are what we call evergreen principles, which means they work regardless of the size of the practice, regardless if you're a chiropractor, osteopath, physiotherapist, or if the economy is bad and you're just blaming the external environment. The first thing, the first system that we have to focus on is onboarding. Do you have a predictable way that is smooth and consistent to onboard clients? The first impressions are so important. This is where we have how the CAs would welcome the new patient. We have things like the clinic tour. We have things that are strategically placed in the patient's experience so that the onboarding process reduces friction for them to start care, and it makes it very easy for them to continue care. It's impossible without having a bulletproof clinic onboarding process for you to see 25,000 plus visits a year. It's just physically impossible because it will be a logistical nightmare. So you've got to figure out a way that it's not just being a great chiropractor, it's having a great business. And that's really, really important. And that's why we like to talk about frameworks and systems. So for us, first impressions really matter, from the website to how our brand looks to the way we use language and communication with patients. And this is for us really important because the onboarding process basically means what does it look like when a patient comes to your door and they've never been there? What does it look like when the new patient is welcomed? How does that sound? Do you have scripts for your CAs? Because if you're a single doc practice, that's great. But as soon as you make your first hire, the quality of patient care, the quality of patient experience might drop if you don't have systems in place. And some people think it's all about marketing. It's all about getting new patients. And yes, of course, that's important. But what's even more important is how can you do these things consistently to get to that level, to get to that scale? People always say, oh, once I get to a certain level of my business, I'm going to start thinking about systems. Oh, once I get to a certain level of my clinic, I'm going to start thinking about hiring. The only way to get to that level is to start with that in mind. And trust me, I know that. I scaled my practice from 0 to 7 figures in 5-6 years. We scaled from just me being the only person in the company, first CA, then first associate, then a first massage therapist, to now having 14, 15 full-time team members practicing in a multidisciplinary clinic. And most importantly, without necessarily stressing out or being burned out as a founder. And it's not about working harder and harder and harder. It's about creating a business that is truly bulletproof. And it starts on with, what does your onboarding process look like? Now, let's consider that you have figured this out and you've solved the problem of smooth transition of patients coming in and starting care and being onboarded, and they've had a nice experience. The second system you have to think about and consider is, how do I deliver results in a consistent manner? So this is delivery of results. Now, here's the thing. I have skin in the game. I practiced for 10 years. I opened a business. I put myself in a position where I was building the systems, and I stepped away. And our clinic as a business still delivers the same results, the same high quality results as I did when I was an individual practitioner. It's really important to think about this word, which is consistency. And the reason why I say that's important is because one of the biggest challenges I find with chiropractors in the UK that we work with is they build a business, or they call it a business. And again, this is not intended to offend anyone. And I apologize if I do offend some of you, but the truth hurts. you don't have a business. In 90% of the time when I speak to people, they've just created a job inside a building, and now people cannot escape this hamster wheel. Why? Because they didn't distinguish between being a practitioner and an operator versus being the founder and the builder of the business. You have to wear two completely different hats. One is, yes, I'm amazing with patients and delivering the care. The other one is, I'm actually building a business that can rely when I'm not in the clinic to deliver the same results. So that's where you need to have SOPs, standard operating procedures. We've talked about this a million times on this channel. I have 2 or 3 programs within my community that we just spend time on SOPs. I have one private client who probably from April last year to sort of October, November, we just were building systems in their business. And now he can go away skiing with his family for a week, for 2, for 3, come back. The business is exactly the same. New patients were fulfilled. The systems were running. Patients were happy. He was not in the business. Why? Well, because he had systems and we had people that we trained on those systems. So if you want to deliver results that are consistent, make sure you have SOPs. Make sure you have frameworks like the perfect patient journey. This is something that took me 6 months to build and 6 weeks to deliver to my mastermind people just on day 1, day 2, day 3, progress reviews, re-exams, maintenance reviews. But this perfect patient journey is such an amazing framework that will absolutely reshape your business. I promise you. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. But how do you get the team to do that? Well, you train them. You invest in your team. You spend time to re-educate and educate and evolve them continuously. I don't think people realize, and I get really passionate, and again, apologies if I offend someone, but I get really passionate about this because I don't think people truly realize how intense you have to be and consistent for a long period of time to have a business that runs itself without you, that produces the results that we've been able to produce. And by the way, a lot of you might not have that as a vision, but you might want a little bit more freedom. You might want to have a little bit more financial independency. You might want to have a few more 5-star Google reviews. You might want to hire your first or second or third associates. You might want to scale a clinic to 2 clinics. And it's impossible to do that unless you follow some of those systems. The third thing to consider is at some point, not initially, but at some point, you have to put your big boy pants on and realize that the worst number in business is 1. And what I'm saying is you cannot rely on one channel of generating new patients. You have to have what we call multiple streams of generating new patients, multiple channels of acquiring new clients. What does that mean? Well, that means referrals are great. Yes, of course they're great. We generated over 1,020 or 200 something new patients last year alone. And these weren't leads, these were patients. Please go and watch our previous videos on exactly how we did that. There should be a link in the description to provide a free training video of my actual strategy. And I think we averaged 107 new patients per month last year. We're on track to beat that this year. And the reason why we're able to do that was because we have channels that are working for us. Again, not leads. We don't have to follow up people all the time. And there are things that we do. We found that the top 3 for us were number one channel for new patients last year was referrals. We have strategic ways we do that. It's not just hoping that patients will come in and they'll refer. Of course, it has to start from delivering an amazing service. Otherwise, no one will refer to you, and it doesn't matter how much money you spend on Google Ads. It's not going to bring many new patients. Or if it does and you're not delivering great service, well, your brand will suffer. That's very obvious. The number 2 most popular way of generating new patients for us last year was in and out of house events. This included talks with specific topics that we had. We ran them in a certain way that generated lots of bums on seats, posture screenings externally, community events. And again, one thing I want to emphasize is that the devil is in the detail. It's not what campaigns you run. It's not just that. It's how pedantic you get with each one of those campaigns. How effective is your time spent planning these events, strategically organizing them, showing up and being super proactive with the effectiveness of the event. So it may sound a bit wishy-washy, but if I told you that in my program, I have probably I would say 4 to 6 hours worth of content just on this one subcategory. And that's the importance of running a business, is once you do it for 3, 6, 12 months, you just rinse and repeat. You have a repeatable system that generates new patients. And that's the third strategy that I want people to focus on, is having multiple channels of generating new patients. Okay? So guys, we're in business. We're in the business of health. We're helping patients. We're changing their lives. You better take these things seriously. You can't be casual about building a successful practice that changes lives and has a massive impact on the team and on the community. It's impossible to do that without taking yourself, first of all, seriously. The fourth one is, as you're scaling and you're just seeing these numbers and you're getting to 10,000 visits a year, 12, 15, 17, 20, 25, we're probably going to get about 30,000 visits this year. You've got to build and scale a team. Once you build and scale a team, you have to be selfless and you have to invest in your team. So how do you build a team? Well, you have to have the right systems. You have to have the right procedures, the right processes, the right scripts for yourself first. When you make your first hire, and we talk about how to structure your organizational chart, at what point do you hire what person? What does their role look like? Are they sitting on the right seat of your company? And if so, how do you make sure that you leverage your experience and expertise so they can deliver the same result with the same consistent outcome? I always say this, and I'll say it again, what is true, whatever is true on the micro, it's also true on the macro. If you have a problem filling up your diary with patients, delivering good results to your patients, and you hire another associate, well, guess what? Your problem just multiplied, just doubled. Because you have a problem on the small scale, and when you expand, you're just creating more headaches. So you better fix the problem from the ground up, make sure you have a good service, make sure you know what you're doing yourself. Then you're starting to build your leadership skills. Because this is where the final and fifth point of this video is investing in the founder. That's you watching or listening to this channel. Investing in the founder. And this is tough. I'll tell you why it's tough, because as chiropractors, we study for 4 or 5 years here in the UK. You think you know everything. You graduate, you work for someone, you complain about them, you say, oh, it's never fair. Some of you land good jobs and you're happy. But ultimately, people leave businesses because the business wasn't good. It wasn't fair. We're very, very fortunate, very lucky that we've come up with a system where it's a win-win-win. And what I mean by that is, of course, the business has to win, but of course, your team has to win. This is super important for us. In order for the client to win, it has to be fair. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. It's impossible for us to build 5 clinics in a nice manner, have lots of people that are part of the team, and for us, one of those for not to work. But my point was, because you've studied for a long time and you've created this sense of confidence, which is great, a lot of you haven't even kind of challenged yourself to the point where you start to question, oh my God, am I good enough? But what I've realized is every time I learned a new skill, every time I hired a mentor, it took my confidence higher. And then I realized that the more I knew, then the more there is to know. Then I took another mentor because I outgrew this person, this mastermind, or this course, or this book that I read. And eventually what you realize is life is this, like almost like the stock market, up and down curve. But as long as you're going in a trajectory of forward motion, I'm improving, I'm developing different skill sets. Because the person that is running a 10K a month business is not going to be the same person that can produce 50, 75, 100K a month business. You physically can't. So ask yourself the question, when was the last time I invested in my personal development? When was the last time I spoke to a consultant about my business? When was the last time I looked in the mirror and I said, maybe there's things that I don't know? And that's fine. That's where masterminds come in, coaches, consultants, you name me. Any of the industry, I've done it. One of my first coaches, I used to pay like 4K a month to show up once a month on the Zoom for him to kick my butt and to say, look, don't do this, do that. And what you're essentially doing is you're paying for their experience, expertise, and mistakes for you not to do them. You still have to do the work. I still had to do the work. I still do the work. I'm part of this huge mastermind, which is not even in a chiropractic space, because we have outgrown the chiropractic space in the UK. So now we have to find inspiration and innovation from other industries to make sure that we build incredible businesses that have high impact and help hundreds and thousands of people's lives. So the truth is, most chiropractors, like it or not, run outdated strategies. They hope that working harder will get them more new patients, more visits, more business, but actually all they have to do is figure out what to work on, who to work with, and how effective to use their time. So if you want to skip all of those things that I've done, let's figure out if I can help you. We can jump on the call, I can examine your clinic. I do like these clinic audits where I can see where your bottlenecks are, what your challenges are, what you're trying to achieve. And because I've been there, it's very easy for me to kind of say, don't go that way, go this way. And if I can help you, great. If I cannot help you, I'll still try to provide value for you guys. So let's map up exactly where your goals are. If an idiot like me can achieve this, so can anyone watching and listening to this video. And I just really, really hope that people stop working so hard all the time, feeling stressed out and burnt out, and actually start working smarter. Thank you for watching. Leave me some comments below what videos you want me to do next. I want to invite many of you watching this to take action and actually take one thing away from this video, implement it in your business, and you'll see the impact that it has in the real world out there. Until next time.